Hello, everybody, and welcome to another session of this 24-hour genealogy marathon. My name is Daniel Horowitz, and I am really excited, a little bit tired, but very pleased to be able to be here with you, covering with Jeff and Marianne these back-to-back sessions. Today, right now, my lecture, the lecture is actually mine, and the idea is to share with you a few of the success stories, most of them through genetic genealogy, that MyHeritage have made available and have been successful to it. So a little bit about myself. I'm the genealogy expert at MyHeritage, liaising with genealogy societies and being able to lecture around the world in different conferences, and also being able to do webinars just like this. I am dedicated to genealogy since 1986, where I was the teacher and study guide editor of the project Searching for My Roots in Venezuela for 15 years. Now, living here in Israel, I am volunteering my time to do crowdsource and digitization and transcription projects for the Israel Genealogy Research Association. Now, this lecture is going to start a little bit different than others because I'm going to start from the end of the story. And thanks God, we have a lot of success stories right here. And the first one is about a lady born in Germany just after World War I. Her name was Irma, or is Irma. I really don't know if she's still alive, but she celebrated recently 99 years old, and she was looking quite good. Now, the problem is that after World War II, she escaped the East Germany as a young mother herself, and soon immigrated with her 4 children to North America, where she lived since then. Now, Irma searched for her biological family for more than 6 decades without success. And it was until, thanks to MyHeritage DNA test, that was taken not by her, but by her granddaughter, that she found the long-lost brother. So I would love to show you how this happened.
I never thought I'd gonna see him in my life. I always wanted to have a family. I wanted to know from my father's side. I never saw him in person. My granddaughter, she even made me drunk one day, and I finally gave some information.
My daughter started quizzing Irma about names and places, and then one day she said, "Mom, I took a DNA test. I found some interesting things about my background, so I'm going to send you a DNA kit."
I couldn't believe it. And the first one which got in touch with me was Franz.
I heard about MyHeritage. MyHeritage showed me that she is somehow related to me. And then she wrote that Irma's father's name is Karl. And that's the name of my great-grandfather. And my grandfather said, "No, it's not impossible, but I don't think so." But then he said, "Maybe there were some rumors in the village that my father had another child before."
It was beyond my dream, the way Mom reacted. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I'm going to cry too. Happy birthday, dear Mom. Mom, look over there.
I don't know who is there.
Come on, let's go look at him.
No, no.
Oh. I think she was excited too to find out now she also has a family.
I nearly passed out, but I'm so happy he is here.
This has been the best birthday present ever. I can thank MyHeritage about bringing us all together.
The main idea is to bring you hope and to show you that actually DNA tests work, and you should never lose the hope to find your relative, and explain you a little bit why MyHeritage is doing all this. And I'm going to start now, or I'm going to continue or going back to the very beginning. And the beginning is no other than our own founder and CEO, Gilad Jaffet. And he is a genealogist himself, and he started with his own family tree many, many years ago. He's not that old, but I'm going to reserve to tell how old is he. But when he was at school here in Israel, and as in many places in the world, he had to do his family tree, his project, and similar to what I did and what I was giving as a teacher back in Venezuela, I've had mentioned. And this is probably the same beginning of anybody like you and me. And we all started with this family tree in pen and paper and trying to collect the names and the connections from our family. And up till 2003, when Gilad decided to take a break from his regular job and dedicate his time to build something that will help other people also to pursue their genealogy research. He started from his own living room, from home, just as many of other famous startups that you have heard, until August 2005, when he and a couple of friends moved to an office in the same place, in the same village where they were working. And actually, I'm very happy to recognize the place, because that is when I, in 2006, joined the company, and I had the opportunity to come every day to this village and to work from here. And from there, we started to grow, and we started to move on until the Or Yehuda offices, when we moved in 2012, because we simply went too big already for that little office in the village. And more people kept coming into the company. And today, I'm again very happy and very proud to be one of the more than 650 employees around the world. And we have offices not only here in Israel in the Or Yehuda one, but also in Tel Aviv. We have an office in Kiev. We have an office in Los Angeles, mostly taking care of Genie. We also have a branch in Toronto and another one in Utah. So this is how we manage to fulfill and do all the features and all the coding and all the support that we offer you almost on 24/7. Now, Gilad always had the vision not only to do good in the business sense, but also to do well. And this means on a personal level. And the users are not just users for us. MyHeritage is considered to be a big family, And that is what we try to look and get into all the employees that comes to the company. Now, as part of this training that we give to the people, one of the tasks that they need to do is actually to build a family tree. And this is how Linoy joined MyHeritage as a phone support team in 2015. And she was actually herself looking for information on her family. And as part of the training, the support people, they need to go over all the features, and they need to do all what users normally will do in our company, in our website. So Linoy was building her family tree, and suddenly, really, like, you need to imagine this quiet office, everybody working, and suddenly somebody starts screaming, literally screaming. And everybody runs to her, and we see her sitting in front of the computer, and she cannot stop screaming and crying, and nobody understands what's happening in the screen. She just have her family tree with a record match, and then a record in what we call super search. And it took us a couple of minutes to understand that in just minutes of her working on MyHeritage, MyHeritage already found for her a match. MyHeritage found her father, which she was actually looking for many, many years. The story, of course, is way more complicated and more in detail on that, but I can tell you again, the bottom line is that Linoy managed to reunite herself with not only the father, but also a half-sister. And she visited here in Israel. Linoy went to the States and visited the family over there. And it's again very emotive to know that MyHeritage really works. And if it works for us as employees, it has to work for other people out there. So I will invite you all to go into the stories.myheritage.com and read, and I will give you that address later, and I will explain a little bit more about that later. But you should know that this is really people, like blood and flesh people that actually work with MyHeritage. So building a family tree is definitely very important. And MyHeritage started as a platform to build family trees. Today, we have 79 million of those in our database, built by 85 million users around the world. But we also have historical records, 13.3 billion of those, and that database actually grows every month and every week. So you need to keep up with that number, and we have a way for doing that as well. MyHeritage also has DNA, and this lecture will show you what most of the DNA kids are actually getting. Every kid is being matched to other people, and right now we're talking about 4.8 million DNA kits in our database. They're also pairing and matching with ethnicities estimations and the more than 2,100 genetic groups that MyHeritage created to make it easier for you understand your origins and how you are related to other people. If you want, you can upgrade your MyHeritage DNA kit and also get health reports based on your DNA. And the wonderful news for everybody is that all this is totally supported in 42 languages, meaning that we have people from all over the world using MyHeritage. Now, this definitely gives us a global strength, which makes us different from other companies out there. We also have a superior technology, or at least this is what people that actually knows even better than me says, so I have to believe them. And we try to be as friendly and approachable as we can, and we always love to hear feedback from our users. It's very important for us to make sure we are doing a good job. We also have some exclusive databases, but what we're missing here is, again, back to the MyHeritage team and the understanding that the whole company has on the importance of this job that we are all doing. And just as a sample of that, I'm going to bring a story that started in 2014 when, after partnering with a website called Billion Graves, MyHeritage decided that Israel was going to be the first country in the world that will have all their cemeteries totally digitized and transcribed. And that is how, in March 2014, a group of employees, and I have to be honest, almost all the employees at the moment were actually there. We went to one cemetery here in Israel and we start taking pictures. Now, just for you to understand, the team took more than 51,000 pictures in one day, with an average of 700 pictures per employee. And that is about 280 man hours that the company clocked and sponsored and paid us to go there. Now, obviously, we couldn't cover the whole cemetery in one day, but it was the proof of concept that this can be done, and we actually did it. In March 2019, we announced that we finished photographing and indexing all the cemeteries in Israel, and now we are encouraging other people and other companies and other countries to go and to use Billion Graves to keep doing this. And I am going to let you immediately know the importance of this. It's not just to have records in a database, because one of the technologies that MyHeritage gives you is the record matches. And Billion Graves, it's a free collection on MyHeritage, and it is a collection where you are going to get record matches, meaning that if MyHeritage detected that one of your persons in, or your individuals in the family tree, is in this collection, we are going to allow you to see it and have that information over there, and then go to the website and see the tombstone and have all the information for you. Now, you will probably think that this is important, but I can guarantee you that for some families, this is vital. And that was the case of a family looking for their missing sister for many, many years. And this is just one of the cases of the Yemenites, people here in Israel. Let me tell you a little bit about the background of this. Yemenites people came to Israel in the 50s and 60s, and a lot of people died, a lot of kids died, and others were given for adoption. They're saying that some of them were actually kidnapped and giving in illegal adoption processes. And this family is trying to look for their sisters. The parents always talked about a sister that disappeared, or they were not sure what happened with this kid when she was young. The parents died, and this family are convinced that the sister is someplace there, out there, and they're trying to find her until MyHeritage came with a record match, okay, with this name for their sister that they put in their family tree. That her name was Dina, and they only knew that their father was Joseph, written in Hebrew, and this is also very important. It looks like she passed away when she was around 1 year old, but they were not sure of what happened. And one day they receive an email saying, hey, MyHeritage found a record match for you, similar to this email that I am showing you here. And the match was with a record from Billion Graves. Now, one thing I would like to mention here is the technology that MyHeritage has to pair records in different languages. So it doesn't matter if you are building your tree in English, Hebrew, or Russian, or any other languages, MyHeritage will be able to find you matches in that language. So they actually received this. They were able to go into the record. They were able to go into the Billion Graves and see the tombstone of the daughter. Now, I have to tell you a little bit about the behind the scenes of this, because you know, this year with the pandemic and all what we are suffering, one of these days, suddenly I receive an email from somebody at the office, from the maintenance people on the office, and they're trying to explain me that there are some Yemenite people at the office saying that we found their lost sister. I'm at home. We are in curfew. We cannot go out. I don't understand what's happening. I was actually giving a couple of lectures for a conference, a virtual conference. I couldn't actually take care of the case. I had to give it to the research team. And then only a couple of days after is that I understood that this family were actually doing a DNA test and were trying to find this girl, and MyHeritage was able, not through a DNA, but through the record, to find the burial of the sister, and they managed to close the circle. They managed to actually visit the grave, actually to improve or like rebuild the stone and make sure that the memory of the lost sister was going to be perpetuated forever. So imagine how excited this family were. And you know, as one of the people in the company that actually love to visit cemeteries and take pictures of the cemeteries, this is really an amazing notice, and knowing that my work, even my volunteer work, is being used and successful and appreciated. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the DNA project that we do in MyHeritage. First of all, you can, of course, take a DNA test and buy a DNA test from MyHeritage. But I'm a genealogist. I'm not from the salesperson, so I'm not going to push you a DNA test from MyHeritage, especially if you will tell me that you already tested in another company. But I will give you a huge good news, because if you have tested in any of these companies, you can actually upload the digital file from any of those companies into MyHeritage and receive everything and all the features that MyHeritage has for everybody. You will receive both the ethnicity estimate, you will be assigned to genetic groups, and you will get the DNA matches. And all you need to do is to go here into DNA match page, look into your results, read and analyze the summary and the tools that MyHeritage gives you in order to find out your matches and your relationship to the matches, and hopefully you will be able to find new relatives that you can connect with them, because that is the main goal of MyHeritage. Now, for this group of people from Yemen, we didn't want to make them suffer more or paid for them to find their relative. So we actually went the whole shebang. We invite them to the office. We help them not only collecting their DNA samples for free, but also hearing their stories, recording their stories for future generations, and make sure that all this is going to be preserved. We did more than 1,000 tests. And you know, here, every time that I appeared, especially local here in a conference, everybody asked me, well, what happened with this? Did you manage to find the missing people? And I'm very happy to say that yes, we actually are very happy to say we managed to reunite some of the adoptees with their biological families. And in this case, this example is one of those that we were allowed to publicize and share with other people. You can search on Google or in the MyHeritage blog with the name Yuda Cantor, and hear how he was raised all his life as an Ashkenazi Jew. And I have to admit, once you know him and once you see him, you know he's not an Ashkenazi. He doesn't look like an Ashkenazi Jew. And then he found out that he was actually adopted, and he did a DNA test, and MyHeritage found his biological family, and we managed to reunite them all together, and this was very emotive. Now, you also have some tools where you can do that yourself, and I will suggest you under the DNA tools to check the chromosome browser and the autocluster, especially if you are an adoptee or looking for your biological family. Those two tools will allow you to see the matches in groups that you have with other people. And those are exactly the same tools that we use at MyHeritage in very special cases to help other people. And we do have some cases that we take, and we also have a very successful and friendly team, a research team led by Roy Mandel and followed by Nitai Elboin and Elizabeth Zetland, which are dedicated to help people and to bring families together. After all, they check all the facts, they try to do a little bit of research, they try to understand the DNA, and every day and every week they have new and very emotive stories. One of the other projects that MyHeritage did a little bit more wide was the DNA Quest project, where MyHeritage gave about 2,000 DNA kits for free to adoptees. And this was in 2019 when we did this project. Right now, we are only accepting proposals or registrations for a waiting list, but we are still collecting the fruits of this project, because we gave all people, 5,000 DNA kits. We gave opportunity to those adoptees or people looking for biological family the opportunity to do a DNA test. And thanks to that, we actually made reunions possible, like the one that Mitch Jurovich from 37 years old experience just a couple of years ago. He was adopted when he was a baby, and of course, after married and with 4 children, he started to ask himself and try to find out about his biological family. And of course, the search was not easy. So he decided to buy a DNA kit. And by the way, the way we learned about this was exactly in this way, social media. He posted his case, he posted his story over there, and it was on July 12th, 2018, when he receives his matches. Now, he got more than 3,400 matches. That's a lot. And of course, every week he got more and more, but he was able to filter and sort and arrange all their matches in order to get 2 very close match, a 29% match, which is established probably as a half brother or uncle. And this was with Todd, and he had another one with Judy, who was probably again half sister or grandmother. And here is where you actually need to analyze the age of the other person, the possible connections with the other person, making sure that the person or their ancestors were at the right time in the right place, in order to make sure how the connection is real established. And that is what Mitch did. And actually, Todd had a family tree on MyHeritage and had listed Judy as the mother. So it was very easy for Mitch to find the connection between all those people and determine that Todd was in fact his uncle and Judy was his grandmother, and MyHeritage allowed them to contact each other and reunite this family because Mitch's biological family heard all the years that this was this baby in the family that was given in adoption for personal reasons, of course, but they were very, very happy to bring Mitch and his whole family back into their family. Now, that it's similar to the case that Nikita Volkova found her grandparents. Nikita knew that she was adopted, and she was searching for her mother all the time. She knew that she had German relations with some relative, but she was not sure where her ancestors are and where her biological family has, until she did a DNA test, and she had a match with what she believed was an older brother of the mom. We're talking about 1,700 centimorgans across 733 segments. So she couldn't understand all this, of course, and she contacted us, and she was trying to go over German privacy laws and try to find her family, and she didn't knew it was like Spanish, Mexican, and Native American, which is part of her ethnicity, and of course that was because of the ethnicities that MyHeritage was reporting. But the good thing is that she had a very good match with Lydia Cook, 80 years old, and according to the shared DNA, she was either an aunt, a half-sister of a grandmother. And remember that you share the same amount of DNA with multiple people in your family tree. So unless you have a family tree on MyHeritage and you can compare your family trees, it's going to be very difficult to establish the right relationship. But in this case, they managed to do it, and it was actually her grandmother, and they actually managed to reunite one with the other.
Hello. And how long have you been anticipating this?
Oh, God. I think my whole life. I looked for my mother for 27 years. I never expected to find my grandmother or anybody.
My name is Nikita Volkova. I was born in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
When I found Mom, and the first thing that when I found her was her obituary, I just screamed and cried and cried and cried. I kept myself locked away and alone.
How I came to use MyHeritage was through the recommendations of DNA detectives. And I was like, all right, I literally have nothing to lose. It was one more name, it was one more site, and I'm like, if this doesn't happen for me, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out.
Well, I always knew that my wife had a daughter that she was forced to give away.
I went a couple of times to see the baby. The 4th time, they didn't let me see her no more. That was the last time I seen her.
We were watching the TV one morning, and MyHeritage had a crew on Fox and Friends. I said, you know, we should try that. That looks interesting. So I did it first, and then we decided to do my wife. And it was interesting to see, and we didn't think much of it.
And here's your family.
About a year and a half, maybe a little long ago, somebody's trying to contact us. We get this girl on, and she starts telling me my mother was born in Hanau, Germany in 1957. And her mother had given her up for adoption and this, that, and then everything just fell into place. I said, well, you got the right phone number. This is your grandmother.
To go from not having anyone at all to having cousins, aunts, grandparents, and having all the family I have always wanted.
I'm very happy I found her. We found her.
And I have closed the circle for my mother, did what I said I was going to do, found her mom. MyHeritage absolutely worked for me, and it found me my family.
But we need to move on, because these are not the only stories, and people actually ask me every now and then whether how often these stories happened on MyHeritage, and the answer, you will not believe it, but it's almost in a daily basis. Not only, again, by records, but also by DNA. Some cases we don't even know about it. Some cases we help, and some cases we just heard from social media and other people. Like, for example, the case of Henrik Engren and Maria Johansson. And this is their pictures. You can clearly see that their faces don't match their names, and that is because they were actually born in Korea. They were adopted very early when they were babies, and they knew that they were adopted, and they were always looking for their family. And let's hear it from themselves.
I have always been a little bit curious about my, heritage. So ever since I was a teenager, I guess I have given it a thought if I should go back to South Korea and do some research of my own. Try to search for my biological parents. I contacted Swedish authorities, lots of different kinds of organizations in any way I was capable of. I got this ad feed in my social media. I know I have looked on that kind of services before, but it was quite expensive then. So when I saw MyHeritage on Facebook, I thought, well, let's give it a shot. Me and my wife was having a lunch. I just wanted to show her this MyHeritage. Immediately says to me that, well, Henrik, here it says that you have a sister who is 30 years old here in Sweden. I couldn't believe it. I thought she was honestly joking with me. It was one of the best moments in my life. I had no, expectations that I could ever find a so close sibling. It's fantastic. Had a lot of good time and laughter and serious stuff and easy stuff. And I can say from both our parts, Marie as well, that if it hadn't been for MyHeritage, we hadn't found each other.
But just if you think this could not get any better, after all, we have two siblings that we managed to reunite. We receive this a message to Roy, and we're understanding that the story didn't end with Henrik and Maria gathering, because they both got a new DNA match just to find another sister. And that's how Lindsay came into the club, and now the three brothers are in contact and are sharing each other's stories and are finding their biological growth family every day and enjoying. So I'm not gonna play this video, but this again, it's not the only case. Imagine taking a DNA test, as Andre did in very early stages, and just not looking for anything in particular, and then suddenly you get a match. It says half brother. Now there is no other option here. This is actually your half brother, and Andre managed to contact Karin, and Karin had a picture of her father, and look at this. Like, really, it's like a doppelganger. Andre thought that for a minute he had another clone or another person in another part of the world, and they were identical, and they were actually half brothers from different parents, and MyHeritage managed to reunite them as well. So how do we all hear about these stories? Well, as I said already, in social media, we just scatter and look for people, and we try to contact them. And we also have places where we suggest you or anybody else that knows about a success story to communicate with us. And that is what Christine and Kim did. They are both born in South Korea. Kim grew up in Belgium. Christine grew up in the United States. They were completely unaware of each other until they did a DNA test again for totally not the right reasons. And MyHeritage matched them, and MyHeritage found how they were related. And the story is that they were both abandoned actually weeks one from the other in a train station in Korea, and they were giving in adoption, each one in a different path, until MyHeritage found this match, this DNA, and they managed to reunite themselves. We actually helped them. They're looking for their family in Korea. We actually did a mini-series about this case, and I'm going to give you now the URL where you can find this and many other stories. Like, for example, a story which I will not have a lot of time to explain, but this was a mother that was separated from her 2-year-old daughter in the Auschwitz concentration camp. And Dora, the mother, never stopped looking for Eva, which was the original name of the child. Unfortunately, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of spoilers here, but you know that there is a good news at the end. Dora died. In the meantime, their daughters, after the war, she had some family, and they kept the promise always to look for this sister that was separated from the mother in World War II until they found it. Yes, I told you it's going to be a nice ending to the story, but the whole story you will need either to Google it or to search it on our blog, and it's really very emotive because Eva also knew she was adopted, and she traveled the world, and she was moved from one place to the other, and she did a DNA test, and they finally connect one with the other, and MyHeritage helped with the records and with the research and reuniting this family together. And this is a case that it's still in development because of the COVID. They have not been able to physically meet each other, but they have virtual calls every week. So look for that. And how do you look for that? Very easy. You go to the blog at blog.myheritage.com, and you look over there in the categories. We have one category called user stories. Over there is where you can find all the stories and all the success stories of users that have found their family thanks to the MyHeritage technology. Another way, and also here we ask you to share your stories with us, and we have a special email that we give you, or you can go to the user stories website, which is stories.myheritage.com, and in here you will also be able to submit your own stories. So Roanna, I do know that you have a success story right there, and I know that you have written an email to Jeff, but this is actually the best way to let us know about a success story or about some help that you need to corroborate whatever information MyHeritage gives you. So I'm going to dedicate just a little bit more of time to answer questions, but before that, I have to remind you that this webinar has been or is being recorded, and it will be available next week in the Legacy website totally for free, and it's going to be there on and on forever. So if you want to go back, you want to again hear it, hopefully Jeff will fix the videos, and we will have in the recording the videos with the audios as well, and you will be able to enjoy those stories and learn how they were kept. Now, the other thing that Jeff left me here was a DNA kit. Well, it only makes sense if we are talking about families reunited through genetic genealogy, to give away one MyHeritage DNA kit. And Jeff said that I should push this button in order to get a random person chosen from the list. And I'm actually seeing here that Cheryl Patton is the winner. Cheryl or Sherry, congratulations. You are the happy winner of a DNA kit. Now, Jeff is going to be in contact with you in order to let you know how you can retrieve this DNA kit. But if you don't need it for yourself, I will strongly suggest you to give it to another family member or make good use of it. Now, I see that a lot of you wants to work for MyHeritage. Listen, for me, it's all good, more than welcome. I would love to have more people in the company, but that is for the HR team. We do have some remote jobs available, so you can go to jobs.myheritage.com and find that all about that. Hopefully, we will be co-workers very soon. Okay, Peggy is trying to provide me here with help on the videos, and Sabine is telling me about the husband and a brother, no match with his mom. He doesn't know about who his dad is. Okay, yes, thank you, Tracy. Tracy is putting the URL right there for everybody to look. And Brian have an adopted brother who connected with his natural or biological mother, but he's more than happy to stay with their adopted mother. Yeah, well, that doesn't mean that they cannot live happily ever after. Now, this again, it was a pleasure for me to be here, not only lecturing, but also monitoring this webinar, which is part of the 24-hour genealogy marathon webinars that we are having today. So the invitation is for all of you to use the, if you have registered, to use the reminder email that you have in your inbox. And if not, you can still go into Family Tree Webinar /24 or the link that I just put in the chat, because we are all jumping to the next session. We are having 26, 27. I already don't know what time is it, what day is it. I only know that I'm very excited to be here with all of you, and I really hope to see you all in the next section, back to back, 24 hours of genealogy madness. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and I will wait for you in the other side of the technology. Goodbye, everybody. See you there.